Okay, Thursday, 16th of January 2025. So, Adrian's daily vlog, sharing smart stuff men should know. Thoughtful Thursday, philosophy and musings from life. The rule of law is a myth. The myth of the rule of law. So, there's two interesting things: the courts and the technicalities of the law that are interesting to consider and remember. And this is an interesting idea to understand in a sense of life and the world and how things operate and that margin of error and the culture, and attitudes and priorities and values of life, basically. Because understand that there's always nuances to life. I did a video similar to this a year ago or something, that the world is complicated, don't be narcissistic. So the law, so let's take the speeding limit, for example. The law might say this road is 30 miles per hour. The law says 30. 30, 00.00, 30. Okay. Science says 30, everything is 30. But you're in the middle of nowhere, 3 a.m., and you drive 31 miles per hour. If you look at the law binary, it's 30 and 31. It's above. Technically speaking, really technically, you broke the law. Why? Because it says 30 and you did 31 miles per hour. Ooh, Okay, so technically speaking, broke the law. But then you could say, well, there's an old adage, it's not a crime if you don't get caught. It's only a crime if you get caught. Look around on the road, 3 a.m., or 2 a.m., whatever. You 31 miles per hour. No one. No cameras. So in that case, then it kind of shows that it's a myth because you did 31 and nothing happened. Interesting. Okay. But then also you could say, culturally speaking, there's that margin of error. Oh, yeah, because in England I know there's a margin of error with regards to the speed limit, and it's 10%. So if it's a 30 here, there's a speed camera, and you do 31 as you go past that over that speed camera, not going to care. 32, not a problem. 33, I guess it's okay. 34, okay, now I start to have problems. Because that difference is big enough, it's beyond that wiggle room, it's beyond that margin of error, and becomes noticeable. It becomes so excessive where, yeah, that's blatant. Yeah, it's in excess. 34, what's that? 35, 36. Ooh, is that standard deviation where do you draw the line? Is 30 is the limit, but 31, what's that? 32, 33, okay, now it's noticeable. But there's that margin of error in rules, in life, in the world. Not so much not at all with maths and physics, in the reality behind it, but in the world we live in, the human world, in society, let's say, in the world we live in, the cultures and communities and countries we build, the law isn't exact, depending on the context. So another example is, I have some clients abroad, and they said that, the speed limit is, say, 40, but they know they can get away with doing 50. So that margin of error is subjective, it's contextual. Because no doubt in some places, that will be extremely literal and very, very strict, 30 miles. For example, I remember being in Scotland, and I was told the police there are quite strict with speeding. And I did hundreds of kilometers. I had no problems, so I don't know what to say. But that's what I heard. But my personal experience, no problems. Interesting. Now, also understand that the rule of law is a bit of a myth through the courts, the judiciary system, in a sense of the law says this, the crime was this, and there's countless nuances and countless variations of things that could happen, laws and scenarios. But the judgment is this, something different, that may or may not align with law or exactly what happened. There's going to be some nuances. There's always nuances. Again, the world is complicated. Don't be so narcissistic. There's always some nuances. There's always things to consider, factors, because you're fundamentally dealing with imperfect, emotional, subjective humans. We're not dealing with robots. We're dealing with humans. So there's always going to be so many countless nuances. Well, kind of, perhaps, when, why didn't, how could, shades of grey, countless shades of grey. Fair enough. Now, the court will say, strike down, basically. That law is not quite accurate, but this situation is wrong, so something in the middle. It creates new law through the ruling. This is what's called common law, basically, not through statute law saying in edicts. We want this, don't do this. But common law is precedent. Something happened in the past, so therefore this should be the thing. This should not be the thing. This should be the law. This should not be true. For example, Mackenzie Friend in the UK is a very good example. Mackenzie Friend. Not legal representation, but a legal, you could say emotional support, really, for accompanying people, defendants, to the courts. Fair enough. But it's those differences, those nuances. The law, the situation, and the ruling. And the ruling could be anywhere in between and creates new laws as well, creates new things, puts new things into existence. But the point is that nuance there. The judge might say, well, it's not quite exactly, but it's kind of, it's not exactly, it's 32 miles per hour. It's okay, that's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's too little. Because then you could go one step further and say, well, the judge would say that, and police-wise and road safety-wise, 30 and 31, 32 miles per hour, it's so little. It's less than a standard deviation. It's that. Where's the point where you care? That, because the place I mentioned with the clients, they can do 40 and it's no problems. So that means 39 is no problem. 38, 37, 36, no problem. 41, now you got problems, even though it says 30. So then, what that means is, you could then say, to what extent does society care? Because you could say, well, society is really strict, and people really shame people willing to drive over the limit, over the speed limit. But if people say, nah, it's okay, don't worry about it. If people collectively, individually, both really say it in their minds and among their friends and family, then that's the culture will affect the law as well. Because again, how do you think it got to 40 when the law says 30? Culture. People's attitude. And that attitude permeates and it changes, and the police might say, it's okay, it's only 39, don't worry about it. It's not 40, it's okay. It's only 38, don't worry about it. It's the culture. It's the culture. It's the socially acceptable behaviour that. And then you can go one step further and say, well, how autistic is the society? You could say, now that's a very clinical way of looking, very, very clinical. But you could say, it's 30. You're doing 30.001 or 30.1 miles per hour. 0.1 miles per hour, what's the difference going to make? Practically speaking, it's not going to affect stopping distance and nor thinking time. So it makes what speed is noticeable, and what speed do they care? Or the Karens of the world. Oh, you did 30.1. I'm telling on you. Oh, you're breaking the law. What difference does it make? That's that nuance of life and society and the law to understand. There's countless shades of grey in the world. Wow. I have meetings with clients and it starts at, say, 1 o'clock. But the client arrives at 1 minute past. What difference is it going to make? It's too small, too insignificant. The difference isn't felt. It's within that standard deviation. And that standard deviation is so small, it's not felt. It's the vast majority is totally fine, unaffected. But it's just that small, from there to there or something. What's that? Who cares? Move on. And that's the interesting thing. There's countless nuances to life, and it's finding that sweet spot in whatever way. But it's worth understanding that life, that there's countless shades of grey. That's the ultimate principle here. There are countless shades of grey. There are countless shades of grey. That in life. In life, you could say, to be more specific. Exactly. Yes. But otherwise, Adrian's Daily Vlog, sharing smart stuff men should know. Subscribe for more, and you will see me tomorrow.